This is a spoiler warning for Jedi Survivor. This was recorded on June 7th, 2023. Hello, thank you for tuning in to Joystick Frequency. It's a video game podcast that doubles as a video game book club where you're a member just by listening in. I'm your host, Trent. Joining me are my returning co-hosts, Walker.
Hello.
And Brady.
What's up?
Last time we went over Deep Rock Galactic. This time we're sailing to... Well, not sailing, more like...
We in space again.
We're piloting to the far reaches of the galaxy to bring you news of Jedi Survivor.
Spoiler, I think we all like it. It's very good. I like it a lot.
It's a very good game.
Jedi Survivor is the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That came out in 2019, right? I think it's 2019. I'll stand by that.
Yep, 2019.
Hey, look at that. But yeah, so not only did I play that recently, but now that we've started Survivor, these two have beaten it. I'm still currently going through it, but I will soon be finishing it as soon as I get the new console.
Trent here may or may not have been skimping off my console for a little bit, trying to play this game as fast as he possibly could have.
And so, before we can get into Jedi Survivor, let's go back and do the usual thing. We're going to start with you, Walker, because it's not 1 month that we're going over, it's 2 for you. So, how have you been? What have you been playing?
A lot of fucking bangers. Real quickly before we jump into the personal games I've been playing, I wanted to give my real quick insight, lovely insight into Deep Rock Galactic. I thought the game was absolute blast to play with you guys, and it has earned a spot in the do not delete section of my console, so anytime that y'all want to jump on, I am happy to play. I think it's got a nice goofy vibe with a lot of really fun. I think the fact that the most of the environment itself is destructible and super flexible to kind of how everyone wants to play. The fact that there's enough character types with enough options in them to kind of encourage different types of gameplay. It all works out and creates this really fun experience. I don't remember. I actually didn't listen into the podcast. What did y'all end up saying about Deep Rock? Just give it a quick overview.
We said it was garbage and that anyone who liked it is garbage.
That checks out, actually.
You played?
Oh, damn. No, the Space Dwarf game?
We also had a lot of fun things to say about it. We went into depth about its class customization features, which we thought are really interesting. The destructible environment is amazing. A lot of unique and flavorful enemies. Rock and stone.
Rock and stone to the bone.
Make sure to smack those dice on your way out.
I remember we've been playing it for years, since it's been an alpha, pretty much. So now, whenever it finally released, we kind of didn't play it for a while until it started releasing a couple of its DLCs, and then hopped back on it relatively recently with the podcast. And I'm very impressed with the new mission types, some of the new enemies, and new guns and stuff like that. It's been very fun to go and explore, especially because I've been playing one of my off roles, one of the ones I didn't get to play much in the Driller. So it's a whole new game with every different dwarf that you play. So
I really appreciate games that have this long-term support for them. They're constantly pushing new updates. It feels really nice to see developers that care and really appreciate their community and build stuff around them. So Deep Rock Galactic does that in spades. That was a shuffle pun. Did anyone catch that? No, just okay. Oh, the silence is killing me. Someone laugh, say something, please. Even if it's a thank you, I needed that.
All right, so Walker, now that we've gone over what we did during the last podcast, what else have you been playing?
I've been playing banger after banger after banger. So my main focus has been on, obviously, Jedi Survivor, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Unsurprisingly, I'm going to give away when we're recording this. Tears of the Kingdom, the new Zelda game, has been out for a couple of weeks now, and I have 95 hours in that currently, and I'm absolutely digging it. But outside of those two, which we're going to talk more about in detail here in a minute, I played Outer Wilds fully for the first time. I mentioned it briefly last time I was on the podcast. I had just picked it up and started playing it again. but thanks to a recommendation from Brady, I picked it up after my initial playthrough ended in a very horrifying existential nightmare. Picked the game back up, absolutely loved it. I'm not going to say too terribly much about it here because one of the cool things about Outer Wilds, very similarly to Tunic, is it is a Metroidvania, is what I've heard it described as. So
that's a good term.
It's so good. And
I can't believe I haven't heard that before.
Most of the unlockable, or all the unlockables in the game, save for one small quality of life feature, are entirely knowledge based. So you'll go to a different place, learn a different thing, which will help you out, make things quicker. Go play this game. If you like space and you like solving really cool mysteries, kind of open-endedly, phenomenal game. The ending, it was exceptionally impactful on me. And I want to go into more detail, but we should probably do maybe a podcast in the future about it where we talk at length at spoiler discussion. We
always have the suggested gaming podcast that we can do yearly. So
very true.
You could always have that as a contender.
But yeah, that was the main one we're going to talk about. If you haven't played Outer Wilds before, please go play it. It's a fucking blast. What about you guys? Who wants to jump in next? Trent, Brady? Trent, you've got a stacked month from what I've seen.
Yeah, sure, I'll go ahead. So, in no particular order, other than it listed for me, I've played 5 different games in between the last podcast and this one, almost all to completion. I'm still about halfway through Peggle 2, but I did It Takes Two with a friend of the podcast, Shadow Moses. Fantastic game. I honestly would be having it be in contention for Game of the Year if it came out this year. I should have played this way a long time ago. It's such a good game, especially because someone who's been through divorce, which is what the story's about, it hit a lot of points that, as a kid, I felt during those times. So it was a really cathartic game to go through after I've grown up, after having those experiences, and play again. And I actually played... so you can choose to either play as the husband or the wife, and I played as the wife while Jay played as the husband, so I only played like half the game. So I am planning to go play with someone else the other half, where I'll play as the husband this time to get the different mechanics and stuff. But it's got a lot of cool mechanics, a lot of cool puzzles, stuff that I haven't seen before in a game. It's also got one of the most sine wave stories I've ever seen, where you're going like, oh, these are good people, to, oh, these are bad people, oh, these are good people, kind of thing. Then I also played Escape Academy again with Shadow Moses. We went through those, other than a couple bug snags and just some high gamer moments. We got through most of them pretty okay. Aside from a couple bugs that did end up making it to where we would have to start them over or go play them solo. But I think that game was really good. I haven't seen an escape room type game be as good as that one is, and it relies on a whole bunch of information stacking on top of each other just really well, especially how an escape room actually works. So it actually felt like kind of genuine. I had already discussed about playing High on Life a little bit on one of these podcasts, but I've gone through... I did not 100% it because it was starting to get a little bit tiring of a game by that point. But I did enjoy the core gameplay of it, but some of the jokes and then some of the replayability kind of just got a little dull towards the end, so I didn't end up 100%ing that one. And then we have Ravenlock. It's a small little indie game based on Alice in Wonderland that came out this year, and it's a very quick game, like 5 to 6 hours. I played through that. It's got a very simple combat system. You're going through essentially Wonderland, fighting various bosses, and I haven't read the books to Alice in Wonderland, so it's probably slightly different in that than it is in the movie, because there's some stuff that I wasn't expecting that happened in that game that I did not see in any of the Alice in Wonderland movies either. So it was a fun take on it. and a very simple, very interesting game. Honestly, it was definitely a kid's game, but I did find myself enjoying it quite often. And then, of course, Peggle 2, which I haven't gone through and finished, but Peggle's just a simple game I used to play back whenever I was a kid or teenager. It's a turn your brain off game and just try and score as many points as you can while playing Plinko. And so I just hopped on Peggle 2 and started doing that while I was listening to music or thinking about D&D stuff. So it's been a good, just kind of chill game to play, especially while you're in the party talking with friends and stuff like that.
I'm glad to hear you loved both It Takes Two and Escape Academy, because as we saw last year, Escape Academy snuck onto my Game of the Year list because I thought it was an absolute blast. Glad to hear that you really enjoyed it and you thought it was well done. And if you are looking for a compatriot for It Takes Two, at some point we can play, because I played through as the husband the first time around, so it would work well to do a swap if you wanted to.
Okay. So I have two options now, because the first option was Kassa, so you're the second option, so I'm glad I have multiple. We'll see.
I'll fight you, editor. No, don't do. I won't fight you. Don't mute me.
I would offer, but when I played It Takes Two, I also played the wife, and I need to find someone who hasn't. I need to play the husband next time, so
we can go back and forth. I'll do like
it was a really good game. So
it's a fantastic game. Everybody should play it if you haven't already. For me, my games this month, other than Jedi Survivor, which I played a lot of. I played through it, and then I played most of a New Game Plus run. I've also been playing Tears of the Kingdom, the new Zelda game. We'll talk more about that later. The other game I've been playing is Far Cry 6. If you've played any of the more recent Far Cry games, it's a pretty similar formula. The story is very interesting. A lot of the characters are fantastic. What's his name? Giancarlo Esposito, is that his name?
Yeah.
Juan Carlo.
I keep wanting to call him Juan Carlo. I'm not sure.
Juan Carlo Esposito
Yes.
plays the main villain and kills it. There are also a lot of really fun side characters that you can interact with. You get pets that can ride in your car with you, including a little wiener dog that is in a wheelchair. Like he has wheels instead of back legs. Named
That is
Chorizo.
phenomenal.
He is my best friend.
Chorizo?
And I love
Oh
him.
my god.
Yes. And you can bring him into your car with you, so he doesn't it's a Far Cry game. You blow shit up, take down a dictator on an island, and do it in a weird-ass helicopter thing.
Nice. Standard Far Cry fare, but
Yeah.
a good time.
It's a good one. Big map. If you like Far Cry games, you'll like this game.
The only Far Cry game I've played is 3.
Interesting.
Which it was really fun to play. I played it in a very bizarre way, though. I've never really been much of a PC gamer, so I was never used to keyboard and mouse. But I had Far Cry 3 for the PC, so I, like a monster, hooked up my laptop to my TV, connected an Xbox controller to that, and played that way.
Oh.
But it was a phenomenal time.
It's a fantastic game, but jeez, dude. Yeah, my intro to the Far Cry series was Far Cry Primal, so I've been playing since the Ice Age.
Damn.
But
been fighting since Mammoth days.
y'all aren't here to hear us talk about Far Cry. Y'all are here to hear us talk about Jedi Survivor.
At least until Far Cry 7 comes out, because we
At
all
least
hop
until
on
Far
that
Cry
train.
7 comes out.
Because I've been wanting to hop on a Far Cry game for a while now, and I haven't played a single one. So I'm.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's surprising.
that's another set of games that Shadow Moses has offered to play with me. We would probably start with 4 and go all the way to 6. So I know some of them are on Game Pass.
Yeah, you can start anywhere you want. They're not in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but if I'm gonna play them, I'd probably play them to where I start with the most janky one first, and then go to better quality. I find working backwards is kind of... You tend to not like the game as much. Hence, I started with Dark Souls 3, then went back to Dark Souls 2, and then realized, hey, there's a reason this one's called the worst in the series. Well, since we're covering Star Wars Jedi Survivor, let's go ahead and get the basic wiki info out of the way. Walker, you want to cover that?
Sure thing. Not from the wiki, but from the Steam page this time, mixing things up. So, the story of Cal Kestis continues in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, a third-person, galaxy-spanning action-adventure game from Respawn Entertainment, developed in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games. This narratively-driven single-player title picks up 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and follows Cal's increasingly desperate fight as the galaxy descends further into darkness. Pushed to the edges of the galaxy by the Empire, Cal will find himself surrounded by threats new and familiar. As one of the last surviving Jedi Knights, Cal is driven to make a stand during the galaxy's darkest times. But how far is he willing to go to protect himself, his crew, and the legacy of the Jedi Order? Hey y'all, what y'all fucking think of this game?
It is my favorite game that I've played so far this year, and it's going to take a lot for any other game to get past it. I loved Fallen Order. I'm a big Star Wars guy in general, so any game where I get to swing a lightsaber, I'm already very much into it. But they kept the storyline and tone and characters consistent from the prequel to the sequel, which is always appreciated in the second installment of a game. They did a great job of telling a story of... it's hard to say anything besides just it was a good story. The character development made sense and progressed from the first game. The character interactions were phenomenal and a lot of fun to go through. The combat was smooth as hell and really interesting. They added new enemies, new offensive options and abilities for you. Pretty much any way I would have wanted them to improve on the first game, they did. So I have almost nothing but positive things to say about the game.
Yeah, real quickly, I just want to say that I think this is everything a sequel should be. They really took everything that I really, really enjoyed about Jedi Fallen Order, amped it up and added more. So yeah, I also really loved this game.
Yeah, I have nothing but high marks for it as well. The few issues I had with Fallen Order were fixed, and the mechanics of the game were very much improved upon in this one. In this one, you actually get a lot more. There's open world aspects to it, which is kind of crazy in a Star Wars game that has a linear storyline. Not only that, but you also get so many different abilities. Like, they really stack upon what they did in the last one. They're new characters and old characters, and the interactions with each of them feel genuine. And you find that some of the newer characters are even stand up to and are as good as some of the old characters. There's even, and in that 5-year time jump, something's going to be pretty good whenever they find the necessity to put out some form of media to talk about what happened during that time jump. They even have a book that bridges the first game to the second game because they knew how much the first game meant to people, and so they wanted to make sure they did a good job not only bridging it to make a second game, but also just making a second game as well. The second game does a good job at even referencing the some of the book while not giving away what really happens in it. You're actually finding out that, there was a rough patch. There was some stuff that happened that went down that is why you're split from your party at the beginning of the game.
To be clear, though, you do not need to read the book to play Survivor. I did not even know there was a book until I had finished the game, and it did not diminish my enjoyment of it at all.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the book specifically, I only know what I've seen through like a brief synopsis of it, but it just kind of gives general information about, hey, here's a little bit why the band is getting more frayed and closer to splitting up and all this good stuff. But most of that is covered through Fallen Order itself, or Survivor rather. Do we want to jump into it?
Let's jump into it.
So I guess, where do we want to start? Do we want to start as the game starts?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start there. So the game starts with you're caught, in quotes, on Kobo. Not Kobo, Coruscant, sorry, my bad. And you're being held hostage, taken prisoner to not a chancellor, but one of the senators of the New Order, right?
Of the Empire.
The Empire. So you're being taken to one of the senators of the Empire, and it's revealed once you get there that, hey, the people that brought you in are actually with you. They're on your team. This was actually a trap to try and get some info out of the senator.
Haha, Uno reverse card, baby. We gotta get that info back from the Empire.
And you start with this fantastic level that goes into the underbelly of Coruscant that you briefly see in Star Wars Attack of the Clones. You don't get much besides maybe a 30-minute scene of it, I would say. And so you actually get a chance to travel through it and eventually get to the senator. And once you get there, someone else want to go?
Yeah, so you get to the senator, you get the information you need, and then shit hits the fan. In the space of like 5 minutes, you lose most of the team that you have been working with this entire time. You in a very hectic escape from Coruscant, all but one member of your team is dead, and that one member had to split up to escape the Empire. So you're all on your own with just yourself and BD trying to just survive getting away from the Empire. And you eventually land on the planet Kobo, which is a distant frontier planet where your old friend Grease is.
Yeah, the Mantis got banged up pretty bad. We need to go get a repair. Talking a little bit about like the Coruscant and some of the initial like gameplay setup of the game. One thing I think that was done incredibly well is 90% of the abilities and stuff that you gain through Fallen Order persists into Jedi Survivor. You can start the game with both the different main lightsaber stances. Eventually you get access to the dual blade stance as well. You get all your normal abilities. You still got slow, you've got your force push and pull, all the good stuff from the first game. And running through Coruscant is kind of a tutorial of like, hey, here's all the stuff you forgot, plus here's some new stuff as well. You got companions now. We see you see a couple different companions through the length of the game, but on Coruscant we specifically have Bode, who's kind of this bounty hunter-ish type. He's got like a Mandalorian-style jetpack on his back, flies around wielding blasters, just some classic gunslinger Han Solo kind of stuff.
I honestly think that's not even the best new mechanic that they show you in Coruscant. The first thing you get is a grappling hook, which if you get a grappling hook on the first level of a game, just know that your method of traversal through that game is just going to creep up and up and up the entirety of that game. And so you get a grappling hook to where you're able to grapple hook a short distance, and this grapple hook can go into wall runs. It can just have you hanging from locations. They really mix it up with throughout the game with where you put these grapple points to what you have to do next, as well as it teaches you not only is there just wall running now, you can also, on certain walls, you can just run up it and then like jump, kind of force jump, I guess it would be. Force jump back into it over and over again until you climb it, as well as they have side-to-side walls that you just kind of like
Metroid style bounce between to jump all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
The platforming in this game is fun.
Lots of new platforming.
They opened it up with showing you, hey, get ready for some really fun traversal in this game. So,
speaking of the traversal, they put a lot of that to good use when you get to Kobo, the second planet, because Kobo is pretty much open world, which is kind of new for the Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor series. The earlier planets in the first game were kind of just a single track that you get through to get through the story, but Kobo is just wide open, which is a big problem if you're someone that likes to complete everything before you move on to the next story point.
Trent saluting in the background.
oh my!
Yes, R.I.P. to our fallen.
Yeah,
fallen
I
brother.
played for hours before I even got to the first city.
My seat's already as low as it was. I was gonna salute and then slowly like sink down. Have my seat sink down so it looked like I was going down with the ship there.
Yeah, there's a lot to do on Kobo. I'm a sucker for this kind of open world-ish trend that's been happening recently. Like you were saying, Brady, there was very linear design in the last game. So the fact that it's kind of opened up and it's like, okay, here, once you complete like a legacy style segment where you're just kind of going through, here's a wide open area. There's caves over here you can explore. There's a mine down that way. There's people talking about whatnot. And there's battle droids. Love the battle droids. Oh my gosh.
So I've been playing this game at Walker's because I don't have the new console yet. So I had to wait till he beat it, and then I started playing it. Walker paused his Tears of the Kingdom to watch me as soon as I came in contact with the battle droids for the first time. As soon as I heard the battle droids for the first time, I'm like, no fucking way they brought these fucks back. And they're funny too. They've got some humor in them this time. It's a very welcome addition to the game.
Yeah. Speaking of welcome additions to the game, let's talk about the new kinds of lightsaber stances you can have in this game.
Yeah.
Because in addition to the standard single and double-bladed lightsaber, they give us a few more options. Walker, I think you alluded to one earlier, right?
The dual wield. Back in Fallen Order, there was dual wield to an extent. Right at the end of that game, when you try to rebuild your lightsaber, the kyber crystal splits and it allows you to build this cool dual wielded blade or saber. But it was limited to a transition between the two other main modes of attack: your double blade and your single blade. In this game, it's a fully fleshed out stance of its own. And it's super fun to play as. I don't want to talk too much about it because I know everyone's got like their own styles that they really, really enjoyed. And mine will be coming up later. So
dual wielding was my favorite stance, I think, in this game, for sure. What other stances were there?
Other than the single and the double-sided blade, I'll go ahead and cover the one that we'll skip over the one that I know Walker wants to talk about, and we'll go to the Kylo Ren one, the Claymore style, the heavy attack one. So this one, like it says, most of your attacks are pretty. They got long windups. They're pretty heavy attacks. They damage stamina pretty heavily and health even worse. I just got this stance, so I haven't been able to mess with it too much. I've been maxing my stances out and then swapping the. I plan on using the dual wield and then the stance Walker's going to talk about for my playthrough. So I just got done with the dual sided one, and I'm currently using the Claymore one, I believe it is, to going to max that one out to see how it goes.
I think it's really funny that you thought. I'll definitely talk about it, but the crossguard was my go-to for the entirety of the game.
Really?
You broke me with Elden Ring. I am starting to move more into like really, really heavy attacking things. And granted, I will say the one negative for the crossguard stance is it is exceptionally slow. I think it's slightly too slow compared to the rest of the stances. The rest of the stances are super, super quick paced, and most of the enemies in the game are built around them. But when you get a hit off with this thing, it is gnarly. You can knock out most enemies in 1 to 2 hits. It just chews through bosses' health bars. It's fun. It's very rewarding to use. And it's got a lot of really good defensive options as well. But the other additional stance you get later on in the game is the blaster stance. At one point, our good buddy Bode, he hands us a blaster and says, hey, use this. And, you know, most Jedi are very anti-blaster. I mean, episode 3, Obi-Wan just tossed the thing aside saying it's gross, basically. But it's really fun. It gives you a lot of good range options. Brady, you played with blaster a lot, right?
Yeah, so you get 2 stances as you go through the game that you can have as your base stances. You can switch at any time when you get to a meditation point, but you have 2 basically as you're running through the world. My 2 were the dual wield and the blaster stance. Blaster is so much fun because you have a single lightsaber in one hand and a blaster in the other. So you're still doing melee attacks, but you're also shooting people at range. The blaster has a charged attack that has does extra damage and can have some additional effects if you buy them from a specific vendor. And you recharge your blaster shots by hitting people in melee. So it's pretty balanced, I would say. So you can't like spam ranged attacks. You have to get back into the action to make good use of your resources.
It's got a very cool like fencing style of combat too, where it's mostly poke based. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. I think the variance in the different stances is super cool. The dual wield specifically, we're kind of skipping over the original two right now, single and double, because I mean they're your standard kind of Star Wars fare. Single blade is seen everywhere. It plays exactly like you would expect a lightsaber to play. The double blade is you can fill all your Maul fantasies of swinging a bladed lightsaber around, doing huge AoE damage. But the dual wield is fast, and that's why I liked having it as my my companion piece to the super slow crossguard. Was if there was just an enemy moving too quick for my heavy blade to handle, swap over to the dual wield and just lay into them. It's really cool. Every single stance has a special like ability tied to it, like the force attacks, your Ys or triangles, whatever they be. The dual wield specifically is special in that it's a parry attack. So you press and hold it, you go into this focus mode, and it'll automatically counter most attacks. Very, very cool.
I think one of my favorite things that I've seen, I haven't gotten to use it too much yet, but in the blaster stance, I love how in the basic combo you just hit the guy in the head with your gun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I think it's kind of fucking wild that in this world where you have these super sci-fi blasters, these swords made out of literal light, and you have this magic that's called the Force that exists, but yet
pistol whip.
You're just gonna clock some guy in the head with the fucking pistol. Fucking hilarious.
Is there anything specific with the lightsaber forms that y'all want to touch on as well?
I love the ability to throw your saber in almost any game. So I'm a big fan of the dual wield. How whenever you get it maxed out, you're just able to just chain throw your lightsabers using your force. Obviously to do so, but you can get like at the level I'm at, which is only about halfway through the game from what y'all have said. I can just let both of them go twice, and they ricochet off of people and do stuff. So it's really fun, as well as just the dual sided saber. Its force attack is essentially just a wide saber throw arc that goes around you several times. Just annihilating anything within like 10 feet of you. It's pretty great.
I've got one more thing. Trent, you mentioned maxing it out. There's skill trees associated with every single lightsaber stance, which I think was very cool. Obviously, since you don't start the game with all the stances when you first go into the meditation spots, and as you pick out your first ability upgrade, you see like these shattered tablets of all the new stances, which you don't have access to quite yet. And gradually, as you get them, they fill in. They all have pretty robust options available to them. They unlock your typical like stronger attacks, as well as some really cool like variances to them. The cross guard specifically gets a very powerful like downward thrust attack, which when you hit the ground, it'll shoot a wave out and stun an enemy, which gives you enough time to wind up your blade and smack them. So comboing that with some of the other moves that's available, it leads to a lot of really cool combinations. And the game itself is very friendly when it comes to the skill trees themselves. You can reset your skill points at any time. First time's free. After that, it only costs 1 skill point, which once you get into the later game, you can that's basically nothing. So a lot of really, really cool stuff there.
I also just want to point out how cool the actual menu and setup for upgrading your skills is. Like having those stone tablets, like the menu of you just sitting in this decrepit like ruins, Jedi ruins essentially, and how whenever you unlock one of these tablets there, or whenever you go to upgrade your skills, they lift from the ground and then surround you, so that you basically, if you're looking at the stances, well, the ones for health and your force abilities are essentially behind you, and you're kind of like just going around in a circle. while looking at them to level them up. I don't know. I was just a real big fan of the upgrade screen for that. It was really cool.
Yeah, they've got the aesthetics down for this game. So one thing I want to point out real quickly, we're not going to go too in-depth with some of the story developments that happen in the game, mainly because Trent here hasn't finished the game. We don't want to spoil some of the cool stuff that happens later on. We're going to spoil one minor thing, but that's purely because he's 5 minutes away from it, and it's one of the coolest set pieces in the game, but we'll get there when we get there.
We also will probably do a little more talking about it later on in the year, because I assume with them two finishing and me enjoying it as much as I have already, this will probably be a contender for the top 10 list at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Brady, do you want to pick back up where we left off in Kobo?
Yeah. So you're in Kobo and you meet up with Grease, who is your pilot from the last game. He is missing an arm but has a robot replacement, which I'm a huge fan of. And he helps you fix the Manus. He's got his little saloon set up in this mining frontier town.
Love me a good Star Wars saloon.
Oh, love a saloon. It's a classic. And he helps you get the Manus set up and back in order. And while that's happening, you kind of help around the town. And you kind of turn this town into your little base of operations for the game. As you explore the world, you can recruit people to come visit the saloon and give different abilities and upgrades to the aesthetic and mechanic features of the saloon. You can get someone that plays music. You can get someone who has an aquarium and you can fill it with fish that you can look at.
Scuba Stev!
Scuba Stev.
Oh, there's a lot of really cool people that you can bring into the saloon. Some which are already there, like our good friend Turgle, who is the best frog in the universe. Love Turgle. Always getting himself into some shit. You actually initially save him from the band of Bedlam Raiders that are causing just some havoc around town here, along with their leader Ravis, who's just this big fuck-off purple guy in a massive metal suit.
Yeah, the Bedlam Raiders are your main enemies for the first part of the game. They're the ones that use the old separatist battle droids as their foot soldiers, and also some bandits that you fight. And after you fight the Bedlam Raiders, you do also fight some Imperial enemies as well. So those are coming back from the first game.
I haven't gotten far enough, but with the return of the separatist droids, I am praying for a fucking troika.
I got good news for you, buddy.
Got good news for you.
I don't know why. I love those fuckers.
The droid deckers are so fucking cool. I've been a fan since I was a kid. The fact that they just roll up like little bionicles and just go away. Yeah.
Speaking of droidicas, and to sidetrack us a little bit, but also bring us back on topic, in Pyloon's Saloon, one of the NPCs that you can collect out in the world that will come back is a gaming vendor or a pair of gaming vendors. And they will set up a holotactics table. It's that Star Wars chess game that you see Chewbacca and C-3PO playing in the original series, where any enemy that you've fought and BD has scanned, you can put him in a simulated arena fight, basically. You array your side with a point system where battle droids are 1 point, droidicas are 12 points, stormtroopers are 3 points,
so on and so forth,
etc., etc. You have a set number of points, and your enemy has a set team that you fight against, and you put them in there and let RNG do its thing. For this game, droidicas are your best friend. Ooh. I have yet to find an enemy that they couldn't beat if you have at least 2 of them.
That's good to know. I've gotten my ass kicked repeatedly by Grease.
They're so good.
I realized I called them Troikas, and I was trying to remember, why did I call them Troikas? What is Troikas from? Troikas from Gears of War.
Oh. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in Pyloon's Saloon. I'm a big fan of hub worlds in general. The fact that not only the saloon, but kind of the town in Kobo itself kind of expands. You get more people coming through. You have a garden that you can end up building out. It's so much fun. I like seeing places evolve over time based on your influence.
Yes. And the whole town does change based on what you do and becomes kind of a thriving little frontier city.
Yeah.
You mentioned the garden.
I did mention the garden.
Which brings us to the topic of collectibles. Because
holy fuck,
shit,
collectibles.
This game has collectibles.
As in our notes, hella collectibles.
You got collectibles for your collectibles.
You got collectibles for your collectibles.
Well, wait, actually, hang on. They literally have collectibles for your collectibles.
They do,
because you have currencies that you collect to buy collectibles.
Also, you can collect cosmetics and then collect different colors for the cosmetics that you've already collected.
Yeah. Got little cosmetic modifiers.
Yeah.
There's so many options in this game for just cool, like, nifty things to sidetrack you. I know a lot of people aren't crazy big fans of the primary collectibles just being, like, cosmetic stuff, but I love it because it encourages you to go out and explore as much as you want to, because you're always going to find something at least remotely neat that you can try on and see if you like it. You can find a lot of different hairstyles, beard styles, shirts, pants, jackets, all kinds of crazy stuff that you can equip on Cal. Did y'all equip any fun customizations, or what was your main go-to if you remember?
So I loved the windswept hairstyle, the longer hair. I loved it. I didn't use it on my first playthrough. I used the shorter hair. Actually, I used the hair from the original game because that felt like Cal, and a short beard. But I also loved the what was it? The commander chest jacket.
The commander outfit's really nice.
The commando outfit. It was one of my favorites. But I switched the legs for the Outrider legs, the ones that looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi's legs. So my Cal was in pretty much full plate armor for most of the game.
Nice. Trent, do you have any fun ones that you had found yet?
I haven't gotten far enough into where I know the names of the collectibles. I know I'm going with kind of a faux hawk but combed back ish hairstyle on him. I think I'm going with the standard beard because I thought Cal Kestis looked good whenever we first see him in the game. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I like it. He looks good like that. And I have just a simple shirt so far, jacket. I dressed for the desert planet, so I went with a light but long sleeve shirt. I don't know if y'all know, but in desert you don't want your arms to too exposed to the heat. It's actually better to wear a long sleeve because the sweat will help aerate the sleeves and help you cool down. So I went more I feel like he'd wear this in this environment kind of stand. I haven't actually put a full outfit together or anything. I have, however, equipped BD with the colors that I think I'm going to keep him with the entire game. He's got a nice red stripe down the side with a nice blue metal to it. So I think he not quite Captain America, but I'm keeping him that way. He looks pretty cool how he looks. And my lightsaber handle is golden, so I'm enjoying that. Sorry, I also made his blaster a Nerf gun, so.
I've got a very... Cal, I kind of flipped around whenever I found new stuff, equipped new skins.
Yeah, let me be clear that a good 25 to 40% of my game time was just me in the customization menu changing Cal's outfit in between loading scenes. So I didn't only roll with one outfit. I was definitely switching him around quite a bit.
Yeah, I definitely played around a lot with the different hair. I felt like the short beard fit him really nicely, so once I got that, I swapped to that and stuck with it for a good majority of the game. What I was most proud of was the lightsaber that I built out. I went with this very sleek white and gold. There's a lot of High Republic influence in this game. Which we'll talk about just a little bit more later on. But their style is very much it's everything's gilded and chrome or white or whatnot. So I went with a very fun gold trimming through most of it. I had my crossguard. You can adjust the angle of the crossguard, so mine was aimed up just a little bit. It was nice. I liked it. I ended up swapping it slightly more. I went for a because Zelda had come out to honor it, since I wasn't playing Zelda quite yet, I flipped it up to a Zelda style one. I'll send a picture later so y'all can see. There's tons of customization for Cal, BD, all your different weapons, the guns, the sabers themselves. man, it felt like it never ended in the best possible way.
So, I feel like we've started addressing some of the collectibles, but I feel like we strayed a little bit. I want to go as far as to at least say who the main bad guy or at least who I think the main bad guy of the game is. Y'all might know something I don't know. But on Kobo, your first visit, you go to an ancient Jedi outpost kind of thing. It's a, what is the radar dish area called? An array? Yeah, that's what it is. So you go to a ancient Jedi array, and inside you find a Jedi that's being contained in a Bacca tank. And so you let him out because you're stupid. And you're all the Jedi are almost dead.
You're not stupid. You're hopeful.
Oh, fair. You're hopeful and stupid.
To be fair, he was a Jedi. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was also in a Bacca tank. Like,
he was healing. Homeboy's missing an arm. Okay, he asked very nicely.
Yeah, backed us for healing.
You let out Dagan Gera, right?
Yeah, Dagan Gera.
Dagan Gera. And he basically has this secret planet that he knows about that he wanted to make a Jedi outpost that was out of the reach of the Empire. And he knows about it, but he kind of had an Anakin complex where he wanted the power, but he was more reckless whenever he wanted to achieve it, kind of thing.
Yeah, we get this really sick scene, frankly, of whenever Cal lets Dagan out of his Bacta tank. Obviously, he falls to the ground and then starts going on this rant of like what happened to him. He talks a little bit about being betrayed by someone super close to him, and you can feel this kind of rage building in the background. He starts fiddling with his lightsaber, and eventually we see that he's bleeding his crystal, turns around, re-equips it, and Cal launches himself at this new Sith, and Dagan just starts going to town on you. Fucking insane. I don't think we've ever seen a Kyber crystal getting bled in any Star Wars media before. At least none of the canon stuff now. What a cool sequence of him just like, oh yeah, fuck this crystal, fuck these guys, I'm pissed. I don't even think at this point Homeboy knows how long it's been, really. But he wants Tanalorr. He really wants Tanalorr.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about those locations. Interesting thing about this game, which I don't know if it's technically true, but it feels true, where the last game you had like 4 or 5 planets that were all decent length, and it feels like in this one you have the same number of planets, but only 2 of them have as much length, and the other ones are all kind of shorter. Like, so let me just go through the list.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Coruscant, Kobo, Jeddah, Nova Garen, the Shattered Moon.
Of Kobo, specifically.
And Tanalorr are all the places you can go to. Of those, Coruscant, Shattered Moon, Nova Garen, and Tanalorr are all not as open world. They're all kind of shorter.
Yeah.
Really,
they're
Jeddah
more,
and Kobo.
Yeah, like Legacy style. Fallen Order. Very linear for the most part. Some of them are more sizable than others, but
right.
Oh man, they pale in comparison to Jeddah and Kobo.
Kobo and Jeddah. Which, again, not necessarily a bad thing, just a slightly different design than the original game.
You gotta have a good desert planet in Star Wars media, don't you? And Jeddah fills that role very well, and you'll be spending a very good amount of time there.
And now that they have the open world aspect of the game, they also put a fast travel in this one, which, whew! I just got done playing Fallen Order. One of the things I had a gripe about was the fact that if you wanted to get from point A to point B on a planet, you had to run the entire way there, which made places like Kashyyyk be really exhausting because I was missing a plant that was all the way at the end of where you near where you fight the Ninth Sister on Kashyyyk in the first game. And then I have to run all the way back to the ship in order to go to the next planet.
And a half, yeah.
So whenever I found out this game had a fast travel system, I was just like, yes, praise God.
Yeah, that was a really nice quality of life update.
And they even put in a visor for BD1 to where you can actually look and see things from far away, and actually put markers that'll show up on not only the mini map, or not mini map, but will show up on the map that you can go and travel. So you can put a marker of something you see and then go and find it in the world if you like lose sight lines on it and stuff like that, so that you can find your path there.
Yeah, agreed. What all do we want to talk about, guys? I mean, we're still we can go into abilities, we can go into some more of the side quest stuff. I don't know, since we're not going to talk too much about main story stuff.
Let's talk about our new abilities. I think this is a good space to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because as Walker and Trent were saying earlier, you keep all of the abilities you had in Jedi Fallen Order. You don't lose anything coming to the sequel. So they came up with a whole new set of abilities for us to go through. The first of which Trent mentioned is the grappling hook.
Yeah.
Which lets you grapple. It's a very fun ability. You get some more Force abilities. You get Force Confusion, which is the Jedi mind trick.
Oh,
these are not the droids you're looking for.
So fun. I think it's such a great addition to the game, which is really powerful in a lot of cases too, especially if you upgrade it. I basically got to a point where half the time I wasn't even fighting anymore. I would just confuse them, let them fight each other, and kind of explore around a bit, and then come back and clean up any of the scraps. Or if I just really wanted to get into it, confuse one, let them attack, and just start laying into them as well.
Yeah, that's a very strong ability. And kind of a sub-ability to that is the taming ability, which lets you use the Force on animals and maybe ride them, depending on the type of animal.
The game has mounts.
There's mounts in this game.
You get to ride little chicken horses.
Your knockoff chocobo.
They even have stables that you can put ones that you like, that you like riding, you like the color palette of them in, and keep them for later so that they'll come to you.
Yeah, there's not a crazy lot of mounts, but the few that there are really nice. I specifically like the little, I forget what they're called, but they're basically little like flying pterodactyl creatures, which I think it's like the first ones that you can unlock. But yeah, it gives you a glide.
Yeah, which, whatever we mentioned in the beginning, that you knew you were going to get a lot of traversal here. This is what we're talking about. You get the grapple hook, you get the mounts, you get the pterodactyl glide, you'll get a dash later on, which I haven't gotten to, but I'm just like, holy fuck, there's got to be a dash in this game with some of the things I've seen so far.
One of the other mounts you get is a camel with just crazy long legs. The legs don't make sense, they're so long.
They're kind of cute in a weird, gross desert creature way.
So there's one other animal that you get to tame in this that you do get to ride as well. Just once or twice, depending on how many times you go there. If you remember when you first come to Kobo, you see that giant turtle creature.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You get to, it's like a giant turtle dinosaur looking thing.
Super like long neck. You have to mark it in the distance.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You go back to it.
You go back to it and you can tame it, and it takes you to you tame it, it lowers its head down, you grab on it, it takes you to a new area.
Fuck yeah.
It's very cool. It's a very cool ability.
He's just a big friend.
As Trent mentioned, there is also a dash. So in addition to jumping and double jumping, you can dash forward using the Force, which gets upgraded at a certain point where you can dash through. There's, those little energy shields.
Thank fucking God.
Yeah. Nice green energy field.
You can just dash through them.
I've been wondering how to get through those fucks.
Not only can you just standard dash through those, once you dash through, your jump and dash are refunded.
Reset, yeah. So you get some interesting transversal.
Oh no. Now I know what you mean by the fucking Celeste level. Oh no. That's going to be fun.
So, something that we have not really talked about too much. One of the things that you can find through the world are called Force Tears. And they're fun little like challenges set in like slightly different level locations. They range from like combat to traversal to just kind of like anything that you would typically handle in the game, but like amped up. There is one hidden in Jeddah, and it is purely traversal based. It's a level ripped straight out of Celeste. It's about 2.5 minutes of purely not touching the ground at any given point, purely wall running, dashing, flipping, jumping, like grapple, hooking and sliding down rappels. Oh, it's so much fun. I got my ass kicked in it repeatedly, but it's a lot of fun.
Some of the other combat ones, there are differences. You have one for each for each saber stance, as well as I've recently found out there's also endurance ones where it literally just shows a whole bunch of battle droids, and it's like it shows a number in the top screen. It's like, hey, kill this many, and it was 150 fucking battle droids, and that one kicked my ass for a while.
Tell us more about some of these other abilities we get, Brady.
So you also get a new Force ability called Force Lift, and also Force Slam, where instead of pushing or pulling people, you lift them up or down.
Ooh.
And it's so fun to just smack some bitches onto the ground.
It gives you a lot of... it really varies combat upon. Yeah. If you just don't want to deal with someone, you can lift them up in the air and they're just struggling there for a while you take care of a more major threat. Or you can slam a dude into the ground and like stun them for a minute, which is also very good.
Very good. You also get BD gets some additional abilities. One of them is like a rock spray type of thing where he will squirt like brown, not brown, purple. Okay, hold on. Cut all of this.
No. You're not cutting that.
We're not leaving this in.
BD squirts? No, dude.
BD gets some new abilities in this game. The first of which is the ability to spray a rock-like substance. It sprays this purple, crystalline, rocky texture in a line wherever you're looking on the screen, and you can connect different areas of the map. And connecting them to a certain beam of light that appears in certain areas of the game will catch it on fire, and you can kind of direct it and get that fire to burn down other sections of the map and unlock new areas that way.
It's a good way for clearing paths as well as dealing with some assorted puzzles the game throws at you.
And collectibles and stuff like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've accidentally used it in combat before, but I've yet to find a use for it.
Yeah, it's not great. The other ability is usable in combat. It is the Electro Dart. BD1 just shoots a bitch with a taser. That's the ability.
And it's good.
It also flips some switches.
It's good for, once again, open it, similar to Metroidvania style gameplay in general. You'll notice some different doors throughout the game or chests that are locked behind a mysterious upgrade, which
antenna.
You don't get till very, very late. Antenna.
I love that there are these chests that exist in the world that I want into, and I have literally a sword that goes through almost any sort of material, but I can't open that chest with my sword.
You don't want to cut a hole in your nice new clothes that you're stealing.
Then don't do that. Just
exactly.
All you got to do is like hit the tip of it with the lock.
There's one more upgrade which I don't really want to talk about right now. It's a very late game, so we'll leave that be for y'all to discover. But outside of that, there's some really cool bosses as well through the game. We won't talk in too much depth, I think, but some of the early on ones that you can find. Pretty fun. Trent, you want to talk about your Rancor experience?
Yeah, so I found the Rancor pretty early on in the game, before I even found Grease, I think. And I went and tried to fight him, and he munched me several times. I was like, nah, sure, I can beat him. After about the 7th try, I was like, okay, I'll come back. But I was determined. I wanted to make sure that before I left Kobo, I would come back and defeat the Rancor. And it took me about 7 tries after that, but I had a good run where I did not get hit by the one-shot move. And he only hit me a couple times, and I finally had his attack patterns down, and I fucking annihilated him. Felt good. He is definitely a boss that should have been waited until maybe the 2nd or 3rd visit to Kobo, but I took him down on the 1st. Felt good. And then we have my current nemesis on Jeddah is the golden Skriton scorpion bullshit guy. He has 3 different grab attacks that will one-shot you, so I'm not going near him currently.
The Skriton's an interesting enemy because you fight like a handful of them through the game, but they're really massive scorpions with this armor plating, this really big claw that it uses basically as a shield. Its main pain in the ass, like its main source of being a dick, just comes from the fact that it blocks most of your attacks. Trying to get around it or wait for an opening is the main get here.
Yeah. So some of the other bosses that are interesting are, obviously we've talked about him a little bit, Dagon Gera, one of the Sith people that you fight. He, like you, is a fan of different lightsaber stances. I want to say every time you fight him, he has a new stance. Am I misremembering something, or is it something new every time?
He definitely adds new stuff to his arsenal as you go through. The first one, as he's waking up, he's a little sluggish in his movements. He hits very hard. He only uses his right hand to attack. But eventually, Homeboy's only got one arm. His other arm's just a stump. But his attack patterns do evolve the more you encounter him, including him using... I think you're right. I think he does get like a second saber at some point.
His turns into a double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah.
But I think he also does split it into a dual wield at one point. I could be misremembering.
Yeah. So he definitely does vary it up quite a bit. But a really cool touch, I think, is when he fights further on into the game, once he gets more comfortable kind of in his new dark side powers, whatever, he fights with a phantom limb, practically. He will float his lightsaber right where his other arm should be and still fight you as if it's there. It's sick.
That's fucking dope. I can't wait to see that.
It is fun. I think there's 3 fights with him. Am I correct? There's 3 different times you fight him? Yeah. And every single time you go into these battles, his whole moveset changes. He's a really good series of fights.
He's a beast. Along with Dagon Gera, you also get to fight Ravis, the leader of the Bedlam Raiders, who is an alien with a big-ass maul.
He is.
Who has canonically killed Jedi.
Oh, shit.
Ravis, we said Dagon Gera was a beast. I think Ravis is probably the second hardest enemy in this game. He's a good fight. He kicked my ass a good few times. We don't want to talk too much about it, but man, he's cool. He's got some really fun tactics up his sleeve.
So, and these are definitely lesser bosses, but I've fought a couple of them already since I've been playing the game. As soon as you release Dagon Gera, you start fighting these bounty hunters or Bedlam Raiders that have lightsabers now. So you have these mostly inexperienced lightsaber users fighting you, and they're surprisingly more effective than you would think they are. I guess it just comes from their just weapon knowledge, but they mix a combo of not only lightsaber attacks, but also like certain blaster attacks that make them to be a fairly interesting enemy, especially considering that you fight one before you wake Dagon Gera, and you're like, okay, well, it's just the bounty hunter enemies from the first one, and then it's like, well, now I got a lightsaber. It's pretty interesting. I really enjoyed that.
Speaking of the bounty hunter enemies from the first game, there is a character in Pyloon's Saloon named Cage, who you can interact with at a certain point in the story, and she will give you bounties. Essentially, the bounty hunters have tracked you to Kobo and are showing up in different places around the planets you can visit, and she'll give you a location, you go there, and you fight a new boss of the bounty hunter variety that you fought in the last game.
Fuck them Haxian Brood.
The Haxian Brood.
Fuck those guys, dude. I'm glad we're finally taking the fight to them a little bit. It's nice to actually stand up and hold your ground a bit more than just getting jumped in the middle of an ice cavern.
Yeah. Gosh. There's one you encounter on Kashyyyk where it's like right by an elevator and it's a ways away from any rest, so you're like halfway deplete it. Never mind. That's a different game. We're not talking about that game.
I mean, we can talk about it because not only did I just play it, but it's also the prequel to this. But
Yeah.
They're sons of bitches.
yeah, there are several times that I find myself, oh, I only have one heal left. That's fine. I'll just go to the meditation point. Oh, I'm getting ambushed by fucking bounty hunters again. Fucking great. Now I gotta fucking outplay my ass off again.
Yeah. They're annoying. But in this one, you can track them down, and there's a pretty good variety of different types of enemies you fight, and different ways. Because all these bosses are set up like pre-existing bosses for you to fight, they can make use of the terrain in interesting ways, like in the places that they're set. Like one, you have to light spoilers. There's a temple on Jeddah that you go through for the main story. After you complete that section of the main story, you can go get a bounty, and there's like a whole lineup of Haxian Brood soldiers that you have to fight your way through before you get to the actual boss.
Oh shit! I haven't done hardly any of the bounty quest line itself, but because I've only done a couple. My main gripe with it is you can only get access to one at a time. Like she only gives you the location
is kind of
one, so you have to come back to her every single time that you slay one. If she gave you a handful, I think it would go better because it's like there's, they're spread out enough. It's like, oh, I would like to go do 2 or 3 of them, then come back for rewards. Mm-hmm. But overall, the fights themselves are really, really fun.
The fights are really fun, and if you complete all of them, the last boss is really interesting and a really challenging fight. But you also get a lot of cool cosmetics because every time you beat a boss, you get a collectible currency called a bounty puck. And you can trade them with this person, Cage, for new lightsaber and blast. No, it's just blaster cosmetics.
Blaster parts and blaster modifiers.
Blaster upgrades. You get new abilities for your blaster stance by buying them here. And beating the whole quest line does give you a whole new blaster cosmetic too.
Ooh.
That you can't buy, that you do get just for winning. And it's a cool one. I definitely used it in mine.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely granted I'm like I said 95 hours deep into Tears of the Kingdom right now, but once that obsession kind of cools it a little bit, I'm going back to Survivor to clear all the stuff I missed. There's a couple really, really nice quality of life additions into the game. There's some secret side quests you can do which allow you to actually mark points of interest on your map, like all the different collectibles that you need to go through and clean up, and so it just puts them onto your map and you can go and take care of them at your own pace. I found, the only one that I've found naturally so far is there's one for your chests, like being able to find all the different like cosmetic chests that are spread out. There's a pretty decently long side quest to get access to that ability, which involves like delving through some tunnels and fighting a real lot of bastards. But there's cool stuff in this game.
Yeah. You can get that specific kind of unlock to upgrade your map for chests for the individual world collectibles. Each world has its own collectible currency that you can trade at a vendor. You can add those to your map, and you can add seeds to your map.
Oh, that's nice.
Which does clutter your map up a little bit because there are a lot of seeds.
Fair. But I will say it's probably very satisfying to go through and like clean out the map, like, and just gradually get this really clean slate again.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this one will take me a while. I will be 100%ing it though. I've enjoyed it very much.
Godspeed. That's going to take a while.
And another thing that this one has that the first one didn't have much of is replayability. Actually, Brady, I know you've beaten the game and have actually played a New Game Plus run. You want to tell us about what it has there?
Yeah, I haven't beaten it all the way through, but I have gotten most of the way through it. So in addition to keeping all of your skill points, so you keep all of your upgrades in your stances and force powers, you have access to all of your cosmetics that you had from your previous run, so you don't have to recollect things.
Do you keep your stims? When you
yes,
go into New Game?
you do keep
that's nice.
Your health upgrades as well.
That's really nice.
And your force upgrades, so like the amount of force meter that you have stays.
Right.
The only thing you don't get are your transversal methods. So you can't unlock all your force powers until you get to that point in the story. And I believe you have to. No, you get your stances all the way from the beginning. So you don't have to unlock those as you go, I believe.
That's nice.
In addition to all that, you do get some new things that you only get in New Game Plus. The first one is 2 new lightsaber colors. The first one being red, so you can be a Sith if you want. The next color is Party, which every time you hit the attack button, it changes the color of your lightsaber to a random lightsaber color. So you are
disco time. Yeah.
Super fun. You also get 3 new perks that you can toggle on or off in a New Game Plus. The first one randomizes your cosmetic gear, so like whatever clothing you're wearing randomly changes every time you die. That's the first one. The second one changes the enemies. This one is automatically turned on when you start a New Game Plus. Oh. It adds more difficult enemies at the beginning and does introduce some new enemy variants. So some of the larger beasts come in new colors with stronger abilities. And it also adds some mini-bosses in places where there weren't mini-bosses. And the third, and I think the most interesting perk, is it increases how deadly everything is. So if you are taken out of the immersion of swinging your lightsaber at something and it not being chopped in half immediately, you can turn on this perk and you will kill almost anything in one hit. Of course, you also die to getting shot with a blaster in one hit, so it's kind of a win some, lose some. But it's a lot of fun to run through and fight 50 people with blasters when any one shot will kill you in one hit.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fun's the word for that. Yeah.
It's like the go fast.
It's the hard mode.
Kick mode, yeah.
The time slow ability that you have is instrumental when you're fighting large groups of people.
Oh, man.
Yeah, having a lot of fun with a hobo Cal in my New Game Plus. I got the long windswept hair and a long beard and like the drifter robes that are like they're the robes, but they look a little shabby,
like tattered. Oh, incredible!
Yeah, it's full hobo. Yeah.
Full hobo from getting his ass kicked over and over and over again to the extra deadly
hobo with a lightsaber.
Yeah. I think that's everything we had in our notes, right?
Yeah, I think so. There was a couple small things, but I don't really think we necessarily need to mention them.
Like we said, we'll go over this again back in later half of the year whenever we start, whenever we do our top 10 list, because, I mean, I already know it's going to be on mine so far, and I'm only halfway through the game, so I would guess it's going to be on y'all somewhere easily.
I want to say, I played through the game, and upon finishing the game, immediately started a New Game Plus. I don't do that.
That's not a Brady
replay
thing.
Game
I don't know who
within
this man is.
Like a month, all right? It's going on my top 10, probably in my top 3, and I'm saying that in June. So
I'm also pretty comfortable in saying it's going to land easily in top 5, if not top 3.
Real quick, I want to know what lightsaber colors everybody's been rolling with.
Ooh, I bounced around a little bit. I started off with like the light blue, the cyan color that was offered. Moved to the pink saber for a little bit. That didn't quite do it for me. Ended up on the white. I really liked the new white color that they offered. It gives off a very like satisfying hum. I noticed that they all give off different like tones of like hum.
That's true.
So the white one was a very, very nice like trill sound, and it looked really pretty.
I'm
running with the yellow lightsaber. Yellow's my favorite color, and it was only in one of the Force Awakens games not Force Awakens, Force Unleashed games that you were able to finally use a different colored lightsaber than the standard ones you'd seen, plus Mace Windu's purple. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking do a yellow one because it's my favorite color, and it's just my go-to anytime I have the option to now.
Nice.
The yellow lightsaber does look really sick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. I roll with green because I always like green lightsabers. But in New Game Plus, I'm alternating between red and white because I also like the white a lot.
the one thing I have about this game is I wish it would let you, whenever you're using two different lightsabers, it would let you use two different colors. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Because I'd be rolling with the yellow and the purple, and not because I like LSU. Fuck LA. It's because it's just because the contrast in color as you're fucking slicing people, just I think would look really cool.
So cool. That and changing the color of your blaster bolt would be the two things I would change. Because you can only shoot blue.
Yeah, I would love to shoot either green or red. I think green would be a really cool bolt.
I wish you had the option in party mode to have the lightsabers be two different colors as well, so that every time you swung, they're just two different colors. That'd be fucking sick, dude.
That'd be really cool. But yeah, that's my biggest gripe with the game. Actually, no. I do have to bring up some of the negative that has been associated with this game, because we would be remiss if we did not talk about some of the performance issues that have been brought up. Apparently, the PC version of this game is not incredibly optimized. People have had some bad experiences. I did come across a few performance issues myself. My game crashed a few times while playing it, or I had like weird loading screen issues.
Gotcha.
But that was few and far between. I am playing on a PS5, so that, I mean, I'm running a pretty high-performing system. But it didn't really detract from the game for me.
Yeah, I was playing through on the Xbox Series X. It was pretty buttery smooth for me. There were some areas, specific levels, where it chugged a little bit. The frame rate dropped. And that was the main thing I dealt with, was like frame rate drops. I tried switching over to, I looked over through the settings, and it offered a, not ray casting, what is it, ray traced mode. I tried switching that on, playing for a little bit, but that definitely slowed things down quite a bit, so couldn't play with that option. But outside of that, I didn't encounter any bugs. I'd seen some people like falling through the world a bit. Then I watched Trent play a little bit, and he somehow managed to seek out a handful of not major issues, but just a handful of like minor bugs.
The first time I died, the guy didn't appear again, so I couldn't get my progress towards that skill point back. I was sad. That raider ran away with my skill point. Other than that, I didn't really have any issues. Most of the falling through the world I did was because I messed up a platforming segment or something. So,
yeah, I did fall from great heights very often, but that was not a game design flaw. That was a skill issue.
That's truly the greatest enemy in this game, gravity.
I noticed that some of the wall running has a little bit of jank to it, especially when you're trying to double jump on the wall to gain a little bit more height as you're running through. I noticed it gets a little finicky at times, but I think that just has to do with the
way that the wall run works.
Yeah, like how you stick to the wall as you wall run. I think it just kind of fights a little bit as you try to reattach. Because I had one instance where I was trying to run along this long series of wall run segments. I tried to double jump on it to gain a little bit more height, and I ended up flipping myself around, and the camera like fought me a bit.
Yeah.
But a little bit of jank, yeah.
And also, it wasn't running well on PC. Aw. Well, too bad. Sucks to
Hold
suck.
this LPC.
Fucking Xbox wins the console war again.
It's not often that we get a win.
Yeah, it's not often, but I mean, I bought this $2,000 PC and it can't even run this game right. Well, sucks to suck, buddy. I bought this console for a quarter of that.
One minor quality of life change, speaking of falling from great distances. In the first game, when you fall to your death, you do take a chunk of damage, which is also true in this game. You can turn that off. You can just not take damage when you fall from the sky.
You can turn that off? Where was that? Wait a minute.
It's in the settings. Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, I didn't even... I'm playing this game on the hardest difficulty again, so I didn't look at the accessibility setting. No, second hardest. That's right, I swapped to second hardest because I heard Ravis was a bitch.
Yes.
So I'm on the second hardest difficulty going through. So I haven't looked at any of the accessibilities because I like a challenge in my game. So
yeah, but fall damage is I wouldn't consider that like a. I think turning off fall damage doesn't make it any less hard
Yeah.
because you're not like having hard times with the combat.
You, my friend, have never been this have never been a fucking canyon away from a meditation point with no heals left, and you're like on the edge of your seat, and then you end up falling off the last fall, and you're like, no.
Is that the lava canyon?
No.
No.
Whenever I did take that fall, though, I got hit to where I was literally one hit away from death, and I'm like, okay, I can do this, and I clutched it. I clutched it in the end, so it ended up being okay. But
Nice.
I do like the fall damage for the threat there of possibly.
Fair.
In addition to the accessibility options, I did notice you can change the color of BD's map. So if you don't like the specific colors, if you have a hard time seeing the different depth perceptions with the blue color that's offered, you can change it to a different color entirely, or change like the doors or the rooms that you're not currently in or haven't explored. There's a ton of like color options.
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah. Do y'all want to rate it?
Yeah, let's rate it.
I can't rate it yet, so
Well,
I'll rate it
give
later
it like
on.
a tentative rating. Give it a tentative rating.
Well, currently,
where you're at right now.
Currently, it's sitting at I'm assuming the story is going to be the main draw factor of this game and so far it's been very interesting. So I'm gonna give it a hesitant 8 right now. With depending on the story, we'll make it go up. I think so. Gameplay wise, it's been really good. So I'm hoping the story just further increases that.
In this podcast, have we ever done like point ratings, or has it always just been a solid number?
I think it's all.
I've done lots of point ratings.
Yeah, point like 0.5 kind of thing.
Okay. I'm bouncing back and forth between like 9 and 9.5. I think I'm gonna land and just give it a 9 for right now. I was exceptionally happy with this game. I'm reserving 10 purely for like my mind-blowing games, for Tunic, for Outer Wilds, for stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this lands pretty dang close. I will say this game does go up to an 11 for one specific sequence that I think is like pinnacle of gaming. It feels just so good to run through. And it is the sequence that Trent is a stone throw away from. So we weren't able to go into too much detail about it here today. But right there, the game pops up to an 11, like easy 10 for me. And then kind of drifts back down and sits very, very happily in the 9 mark.
Yeah, speaking of point ratings, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 9.5.
Hell yeah.
If I hadn't had the performance issues I'd had, I might be giving this a 10. I would probably be giving this a 10 if it weren't for the performance issues. This game is definitely right up my alley, and it was everything I would have wanted from a Jedi Fallen Order sequel.
It does everything a sequel needs to, and BD1 is just as cute, and you can pet him.
Yep.
He has a cute little sit animation.
I'm quite surprised with the fact that EA put out Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, and they're actually this good.
Respawn was the
kicks
studio.
ass.
True.
Respawn kicks
Okay,
ass.
never mind. Yeah, never mind. It's Respawn. Fuck you, EA.
It's Respawn.
Because they did Titanfall and Titanfall 2, and those were magnificent as well.
Those are awesome games.
Yeah, so I'm really, really hoping that we do get a third installment in the Jedi franchise here.
I think the way they left it, definitely the door is open.
The door is, yeah. So I'm excited to see how it develops, where it goes. And if not, I'm happy with where we've left it.
This is also, the ending works if this is the end as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Or maybe not first, but our opinion is the one that matters. So thank y'all for joining us. Be sure to tune in next time where we'll be talking about Breath of the Wild's sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, and
Whole lot of sequels. Whole lot of really good sequels.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of really good sequels this year already. So thank y'all once again. Y'all have a fantastic evening. This is the Joystick Frequency signing off. Catch you on the next wavelength.
Bye, guys.
See ya.